or specifically 18 to 24. So again, think about who you are trying to reach with your product or service. And this is definitely um, an aspect that should be on all reports. Interest, general interest is another one. I find this relatively helpful, and I don't put it in a lot of my reports for my clients. Um, unless I'm in one of these areas. So if you're looking at value shoppers, you have a product or service where you know that people are just looking at the bottom line for the most part. You want to see these numbers stay pretty far up. Sports and fitness is another one, travel. So really think about what business that you're in. Audience behavior. This is where Google Analytics really gets into the nitty gritty with new versus returning. And Chris, I don't know if you were here when I was talking about what new versus returning means and the value of acquisition. So oftentimes it costs less, right? We know as marketers that it costs less to have a returning customer than it is to acquire a new customer.
So that's what we want to focus on more.
Yeah, so we want to think about, I mean, we definitely want to have new customers, right? We want to bring them in, right, and we want to have a process in order to do that. But we also want to take a look at the numbers as far as what that looks like. You know, sometimes it's good to have 50-50, sometimes 60-40, you know, new 40% new visitors coming in, and you're still
if you had no returning visitors, that would be, have you seen customers that have no returning visitors? That must mean they have a really bad product.
Yeah. So in the very beginning, oftentimes we'll see low returning numbers. And so one of the things that we want to do is raise the number of returning visitors. Why aren't they coming back? Especially if, you know, there's products or services, mostly services. So if somebody's not coming back to, you know, it also depends too, you know, if there's like a divorce lawyer, for instance,
right.
You're going to return, you know, hopefully you're just going to return within a short period of time, and then they're, you know,
2 more years.
They're gone. But
gotcha. That's a good example.
Yeah. So just, you know, again, think about like what your product or services and what kind of questions you want to answer. And so that's, you know, that's why I look at the left-hand side and not just the reports, the templated reports in Google Analytics. So from the perspective, I'm going to back up for a minute, because from the perspective of a marketer, we look at things differently. From the perspective of the actual business owner, you're really looking at the bottom line, but what does the bottom line mean and how do you get there? So you have to answer some pretty important marketing and communications questions as you are going through what are you looking at in your report. And that makes looking at the report a lot easier and looking at what to report. So oftentimes it's, okay, what's, you know, how much revenue am I bringing in? I'm bringing in X revenue. Well, how did I get there? What are the things that helped me get there? Or what are the things that were not very helpful? You know, is there a slow website? If there's a slow website, people are going to drop off more quickly because they're going to get aggravated. They're not going to feel like they're being supported or helped.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Are there insights to page speed in analytics, or is that?
There are, yeah. Last we talked about the page speed. Here we go, site speed, right here. So page timing speed, there's speed suggestions as well. So oftentimes when you jump into your analytics, taking a tiny bit of time, there'll be on the right-hand side, a little section called Insights, and it's really good to take a look at those insights. Okay, so this is interesting. I like that Google did this in their demo site. They actually provided page speed suggestions.
Wow.
So if your pages are slow, they have little suggestions as to how you could speed that up. Oftentimes it could be something as simple as you have a certain piece of code that's running really wonky, or you have an image that's taking up a lot of space. It could be any number of things.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. So this is like the really wonky stuff. I don't think a lot of business owners may know this, or they have somebody who's doing this for them, but it's good to know like what's going on behind the curtain. And it's good to know what kind of questions to ask your webmaster or your web person as well. So sometimes, revenue may have something to do with other than content or other than product. And I found that we found that with a couple of our clients when we dug in to the site and we looked at the speed of some of the things. That one site wasn't particularly helpful in mobile as it was on desktop. So we weren't getting a lot of mobile. So these are things that when we go in, we check.
And what was their page load? Was it egregiously higher than those at?
Yeah, there was a couple of pages that, the load time was super high. So we had to dig in and kind of look at what was causing that. So just things to take into consideration. One of my favorite things to take a look at is behavior flow. So this is a nice little chart that, especially when I am doing any sort of advertising or I'm doing organic social media, I want to start from the very beginning of whatever campaign I'm doing, whether it's an email campaign, a Facebook advertising campaign, Google advertising campaign, a blog that I wrote and put on the landing page, so you can start from the landing page. So you start from the source and you go all the way through each of the interactions to see how people are interacting with that particular page. So if my starting page was a blog or my starting page was a product, let's do product. Product is easy. Starting page is a product. The person is either going to buy the product or not buy the product. So let's pretend this is the product. There's 58,000 people that are looking at this particular product page. 54,000 of them dropped off. If we continued, we want to make believe that this is your cart, right? We took the product and we put it in a cart. Then we sent it to checkout. We want to see the numbers between how many sessions are in the page, how many drop-offs there are, and then what the end result is. So in this case, I did do a behavior flow check on an e-commerce site to see where we were getting stuck perhaps between product viewing and checkout completion.
And they were getting stuck on the cart.
And they were getting stuck on the cart, and we had to figure out why that was. So sometimes, it's either the naming of the cart or the way that the e-commerce site or platform is working with the Google Analytics. It could be as simple as that. So that, that's again something more of like a web person or a very savvy marketer would be taking a look at. But it's a good question to ask. When you're asking, why am I not getting sales?
So I guess when you look at this behavior flow, you'd look for the red.
Yeah, you look at the red. This is the drop-off point. So anytime, anybody who's watching, and if you're going behind the scenes of your own site and taking a look at this, drop me a note and tell me what the behavior flow looks like, because it's very interesting. All right, so behavior flow, site speed, site search. This is how people, I was moving a little too fast. This is how people are searching within your site. I skipped over acquisition, and I want to go there too. I have a couple of favorite things that I look at there. So overview is basically just going to tell you where the traffic is coming from and some of the information there. So in this case, of course, because this is Google and they want to make themselves look good, and oftentimes this is the case, organic search really does and should garner most of your visitors. One of the reasons is because it's free. You don't have to pay for advertising if people can find you organically, and there's whole companies that are based just on SEO. Then you have direct, which is oftentimes people who are coming back. Referral. There's a social section as well. So if you have a robust social media campaign, organic social media campaign, where you're posting on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Pinterest and so on. If you're spending your time and resources doing organic social, you want to have a good number there. So in this case, this number should probably be a little bit more than it looks like, under 10% at this point. Paid search. That's that little sliver right there. So again, if you are spending money, if you are spending, $300 a month or $1,000 a month or $10,000 a month, you want to make sure that you're getting your money's worth. And then display is also, it's part of paid search. In this case, display is actually Google ads, and specifically visual ads that are on Google partner sites. And that's something that we should probably talk about in the next couple of months, I think.
What's a good example of a Google partner site?
CNN could be a Google partner site. Sports Illustrated could be a Google partner site. There's actually lists and lists and lists in Google advertising of partner sites, blogs.
So there's several.
There's like more than several. There's like thousands. So yeah, it's interesting because when I first started doing Google advertising, I was noticing that I could get ads onto large online publication, media sites for practically nothing as opposed to spending hundreds of dollars. WTNH could be a Google partner site. They, as you go further into the article sections, there's space there that's provided to Google.
And can you choose those when you're paying by category or something?
Yeah, so you can choose them. It doesn't necessarily, caveat doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to happen for you. So, but there is actually reporting in Google Ads that show you where, what partner sites are being utilized. But that's going to be a whole other month, and maybe June, maybe July.
Awesome. So much here.
What's that?
There's so much.
There is. I mean, that's a lot. But the thing is, it's very important as well to have this information available to you and to be, to just arm yourself with it. So even if you just receive reports from, your marketing company or your SEO company or your web company, and they're handing you reports and you don't know, exactly what they mean sometimes. Oftentimes people, do a good job of explaining what they are, but it's good to have that information yourself, and it's good to ask questions as well. How can I do this? What do I need to do in order for this to happen? Why is it working? Why is it not working? What can I do more of? And that way you can just spend your money in a better manner. If we decide that, gosh, we're doing really, really well with organic right now, paid has done what we asked it to do, we can pull back on paid and do more organic. Or we may have to rev up paid in certain areas. So we really want to make good decisions based on good information. That's what we're looking to do. Okie dokie. So of course, because it's Google has a whole section on just Google advertising.
Of course.
Of course. And of course, in the demo site. So these are all of the Google campaigns in this particular site. And that's definitely the way it's going to look. Is if you name all of your campaigns and all of your ad groups, they're going to come up as the named piece. So in this particular case, they broke now Google brand, don't know what that is. And then there's apparel. There's advertising that they've done on YouTube. There's accessories. So you're looking at what is bringing in the most visits and what's bringing in the most revenue, and make decisions based on that. Do I want to invest in doing more advertising in accessories or drinkware? They're not particularly spending a lot right now. But they're also not bringing in revenue as of yet. So again, weighing those decisions as to how you are going to move forward.
So where's the money shot here? Like all these columns and numbers, where is your going?
So right now, the way that they showed this is it's cost of acquisition, right? How much money am I spending and how much money am I bringing in? And in this case, it's a wash, right? Here's your cost right here. You're spending $216.41 on the ad.
Yeah.
The cost per click is not that bad. It's 27 cents. It garnered 588 users. And again, if you're just saying, you know what, I want to take this campaign and I just want people to be aware of my brand, and I want people to know that these products are available for like the first 3 weeks or month, and I don't really care that my revenue is only $206. So they spent, we're doing the math here. They spent $216 to make $206. They may not care at this point. 3 months down the road, if they're spending $216 and they're not making any money and it's just a wash, then they're going to care. How do I change that? I was looking for a total here, but I didn't see one. So right now, with one of our clients, we are running a campaign and we spent $69 and we made $3,000 so far.
Wow, that's a nice
So
return.
that's a plus, you know?
That's amazing.
So this is something that, again, you want to take a look at what's important.
Was it just an AdWord campaign?
What's that?
Was it an AdWord campaign or a?
Yeah, it was an AdWord campaign. Oh, okay. Which of these statistics do you feel are best to show that a site is SEO optimized? Wow, thanks for the question. Okay, so there's a couple of analytics that show that. One, there is actually an SEO optimized report. So first of all, the easy answer to the question is definitely looking at what your organic percentages. So that was the piece that I had showed earlier when we were looking at all traffic. So if you're pulling in a lot of visitors organically, you're doing well with SEO. I'm going to show 2 other reports, I think. So we go into our dashboards over here, which we talked about last week. And I did a little bit of review this morning. So here we go, SEO performance. So total visits from SEO, most viewed pages from SEO, search engines used, again, how it compares to other traffic sources, and then geographically, cities that are finding websites through SEO. And this can be changed to countries or regions or metro areas as well. You can change up this report.
So did Google make this report for themselves, or is this a report everyone can access?
This is a report that you can pull and use utilizing the items in the left-hand column. So if you go to acquisition, and you go to your traffic and channels and referrals, those are the two big report sections that kind of help build out as well. And then I'm going to go into behavior, and there's a couple in there as well. Next week, we're going to actually talk about setting up events, which I'm going to see if they have it in the demo. Events are relatively new. And it's basically actions that are taken and the process in which that action is taken. It's similar to goals and conversion, which I'm looking at the time right now, and I feel like I have 10 minutes.
Time flies.
I know. I was worried at first. I was like, gosh, I'm gonna be like just running through this. So if anybody has any further questions, can go ahead and ask them now. I can stay on for a few more minutes. We usually end at 9:30, but then there's always questions, so I stick around.
I'm always confused on those reports. I don't know if anyone else
Are confused on there. Yeah, the reports can seem. You're saying building out the reports. We usually.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just taking a minute. Usually end at 9:30, but then there's always questions, so I stick around. That was me again. I'm like, I forgot that I was on a delay if I go over to Facebook.
I'm doing the same thing, trying not to.
Okay. So goals. And this is the one thing that's that again, it's also very important, but to set up, so these goals are already set up. And here are the goal URLs that they set up.
Now, would this be mostly for an e-commerce site, or it doesn't matter?
This particular one is for an e-commerce site, but I set up goals no matter what. I will, if there's blogs, I will set up goals. Here are the goal URLs that they set up. Oh, I have to shut this off. What the heck? This is good. I didn't swear on Facebook Live. Awesome. Yeah, it's almost 9:30, so I'm getting giddy. This is usually what happens when we're in Zoom. So you get to see the Mimi. The question was
Mimi.
Yeah, so if there's like a blog or a download, a digital download that you want to push out there, if there's any kind of page that you want people to get to and you want them to get to via a certain path, you want to set up a goal for that. And there's a couple of different ways to look at it. My favorite way to look at things is through the goals, because then you get other information like a funnel visualization or multi-channel funnel. Well, how do people push out there? If that's you, Chris.
I know, sorry.
It's like it's not me. You want to get to via a certain path. You want to set up a goal for that. And there's a couple of different ways to look at it. My favorite way to look at things is through the goals, because then you get other information. So assisted conversion and top conversion paths. So assisted conversion means oftentimes there's not one clear path to your goal or a purchase or reading a blog or getting to your site in any fashion. So in this case, the assisted conversion is broken down by platform or by method. So there's direct, organic search, referral, paid search. You can actually break it down even further by going to source medium. When you're looking at acquisition, source medium is always your best friend. Wherever you find source medium, just click on it.
Such a weird term, though. Why can't it
It
be?
is a weird term. That's what I'm saying. Like a lot of this is, it's pretty cut and dry, and then some of it is just like, yeah, you really need, somebody to do this for you or help. So in this case, unfortunately, this is all Google, 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 right? So Google pay-per-click, partner sites or affiliates, mail Google, which is like, if you were doing MailChimp or Constant Contact or something like that. So this is how many assisted conversions there were, which meant that somebody went in directly at some point. And I'm going to show you what that usually looks like. The assistant conversion value in this case was $790. Then there's last click or direct conversion, which means this particular method was either the only way that somebody went into the website, or it was the very last click. When I'm doing any sort of advertising or I'm doing organic social media, I'm not just looking at the numbers from the perspective of how many numbers come in, but in what way they came in. Because if you look at the top conversion paths, and this justifies, a lot of times this will justify a spend, like a paid marketing spend or organic social time resources. So somebody could say, okay, I'm looking at, my reports and it looks like social's really not doing very much for me. Then I go into this report and I'm saying, well, actually it is. So they've simplified this report and kept it probably strictly to Google. But if you look at any other report, this can go on for quite a bit. It could take like up to 15 visits from 3 or 4 different sources to get to the end result. And that really tells you a lot. So I'm going to do all path lengths. This only does a couple of path lengths. And then I'm also going to do a 60-day prior to conversion. So this really takes a very big picture look. Because it's Google, it's probably not going to give me.
What would it say? Facebook?
Oh, it would say, first somebody went to Facebook, then they remembered the website address, and then they went to, they went to the website itself, but then there still wasn't a conversion, and then they were redirected by a retargeting ad on Google. So they clicked the Google ad and went back, and then they still didn't purchase, but they signed up for a newsletter. So when they got the newsletter, they clicked on the newsletter, and then there was a button there, and they clicked on that button. And so then the newsletter brought them in, and then they finally made a purchase.
Wow. So this is like a CRM.
Pardon?
This acts like a CRM. This part.
Yeah.
Now, does this have to be set up to see this data in the goals? Or no, or in conversions? No.
We're in conversions. So the goals have to be set up, and then then you go into the top conversion paths.
I guess it wouldn't be a CRM because you don't know who it is.
No, you don't know who it is. It only deals in numbers.
But a lot of good information.
A lot of good information. Again, before I nix a campaign that I'm doing, whether it's organic or email or, hey, I want to take a look at this and see if it's pushing the in the right direction to the action that I want people to take. And then I can go back to my client, or then I can look back at my own website and say, yeah, you know what? I thought this wasn't working, or it was working kind of slowly, but it's part of the process. So really looking at what this part of the process is, it takes more than one action to get to the final goal.
It's amazing that you know how all this works.
It took many, many years. And I'm always learning. I mean, and Google Analytics is also always adding to, you know, to their tools and their, the platform. One of the easier ways to take a look at just straight up reporting or to build reports is to use the Google Data Studio. And that is also something that later in this month we're going to take a look at. So there's at least two more presentations that are directly on Google Analytics. We're going to talk specifically about e-commerce and how Google Analytics works with e-commerce sites. And then we're also going to take a look at the Data Studio. But I wanted to lay the groundwork first as to what each of these pieces of the report actually report on. When you're doing a report in Data Studio, again, because it's Google, it's really, really wonky. It's not particularly, drag and drop. There are other platforms out there that are, but I think having a good base knowledge of what you're actually looking for and what you want to look for is really important. Oh, and it's 9:33, so that should conclude.
Good job.
Yay, thank you. And I will see everybody next week, Tuesday. What's today? Today's the 12th, plus 7, the 19th.
All right.
At 8:30 a.m.
See you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.